Hello, my name is Jamie Willis-Rose, and welcome back to part 2 of my animated analog clock video series. Today I'm going to be extending the component that I created in my previous video and blog. There's an accompanying blog that goes with this video. You can find the link down below. If you didn't see the previous video, the link is somewhere. You can find it and check that out as well. So today what we're going to do is actually take what I built last time and extend it a little bit further so that it's more customizable. And so what we're taking advantage of today are the ability to create custom properties on a component. These properties can be both inputs and outputs. So I'll walk you through it. If you want to see step by step, you can read the blog. But here we are in the component, and I'm going to start by coming over here, and I'll show you that I have the component selected. I've already created these custom properties, but I'll walk you through the basics of how you do it. So over here on the right, we're going to come over here and we're going to see the new custom property button. When I click this, it opens a dialog which allows me to create a custom property. I'm going to create just a dummy one for now, and we'll just call this test property. Note that the display name can have spaces, but the name cannot. If I try to put a space in there, it'll give you an error message. Description's always a good idea to put something in there for both the other makers who are using the app, and so that's just the main reason. Properties, as I mentioned, custom properties can have both either inputs or outputs. In my demonstration today, I'm going to show you how to use both. Inputs are for the makers who want to customize the instance of the component, so you can, when they place that component on the screen in the app, they can then adjust it using these inputs. The outputs are if you want the component to feed back into the app information. And I'll show you how I use that in this demonstration today. Data types. As of today, when I'm recording this, these are the data types that are available. Today is August 31st, 2021. This list may look different today depending on when you're watching this. I'm not going to be using all of these, just a few, but again, I'm going to walk you through it. Once you're done, you just click create, and then that's how you create the custom property. Again, I've already done this work, so I'm not going to walk you through all that, but I'll show you now the 3 custom properties I did create and how we use them. So the first one is offset. So what does offset do? Offset allows makers who put this clock in their app to adjust the clock forward or backwards in time. So by default, the animated clock is set to the current time now, but you could plus or minus a certain amount of minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and click on offset so you can see how this works. And so offset, timed offset clock, input number. So that's what I did already. And how do I use this? Well, I use this in the formula. So when I come in here to the timer, and I come here to the on timer start, and I scroll down here, you'll see here, this is where it's located. So what I'm doing is I'm using the date add function, and I'm adding this parent offset number, which is in minutes. And the reason I did minutes and not hours is because there are certain time zones in the world that are actually not full hour. They're half hour. So this gives us that flexibility. Also, perhaps the person just wants to set the clock 20 minutes ahead. I mean, who knows? But this sets the time based on that, and then all the other formulas are off that var now variable. So, and remember, this on timer start is triggered every 1 second. So I'm back here in the component, and I'm going to take a look at the other properties. Before I get to clock fill, I'm going to actually skip down to this next one, which is time output, because it's related to offset. Time output, as the name implies, is the output of this particular clock, the instance of the clock. So if you have more than one, this will allow you to interact with each one. So what does this do? Well, what this does is it actually spits out the output in a date time format. So if I come here and I click time output, you'll see here I'm outputting out that var now variable. So the one that we just set, when the timer goes through every 1 second, it's getting put out. So if you want to interact with that, maybe for example you want to put a label in your app that displays the time in standard, digital display type clock. You can do that. You can do any number of things with a date time in a Canvas app. So that's how that works. Okay, so I've talked about 2 of the 3, offset and time output. And the last thing I'm going to mention is clock fill. So clock fill is, as the name implies, has to do with the color. And so what I've done here is I've used the color data type. And what does that do? Well, that actually allows the maker, I should say, to choose a color using the standard color picker. And the way that we're going to use it in the app is when they put this in a canvas screen, they'll have an ability to choose a color, and I'll show you what that looks like here. But it looks roughly like this. So it's this color picker, and they can pick a set of standard colors, or they can enter their own custom hex or RGBA codes like that. So that's what it'll look like. I'll show you what it looks like in a minute here. Now, in order to use this in the app, we have to do a couple tricky things. So we have to go through each of these images here and shapes and actually wire it up so that when the clock fill is changed, it goes through all the other components. So the first one's really easy. Shape clock center, which is dead center here. That one, you just set the color to parent clock fill. So parent is the parent, in this case the component. So I'm setting that to clock fill. And that way, really easy. As soon as it goes, it's done. It changes the color. However, SVGs are a little bit different. I can't just plug in parent.clockfill into my SVG. That won't work. I have to convert it into a hex code. I'll try to find a link below for what is a hex codes, how they work. But basically, I need to actually create that. Now, the good news is I have another blog about this, which I'll put a link below too, about a trick that I learned on how to do this. But it's basically a little bit of a hack that allows you to convert an RGBA code into hex code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to back to the component here, and I'm going to click on clock fill, and you notice here it says raise on reset when value changes. So that's off by default, but I want it to be on right now so that every time the maker changes that value, it actually will update the color variable, which is what I'm going to create in the on reset. So when I come here to on reset, you'll see here, this is what I'm doing. I'm using this little hack that I created. Maybe I didn't, I don't know. Maybe somebody else came up with it first. But basically what this does is it uses the JSON function, which is an out-of-the-box function, to get that clock fill. It then converts this into a JSON object, and then I use the substitute to remove this character here, which is character 34. And you can read my blog all about it, how and why it works. But the output of this is going to be a hex code. Once I have this variable, var clock fill hex, I can go back into my code here, which is the SVG code, and I can actually plug that in wherever I see hex code. So in this case, there was a fill function, so I just put in this into the string. Remember, you have to use quotes on both sides and use the ampersand to concatenate your string. And I just did that for all of them. So for hour, minute, second, well, I didn't do it for second, so this is a good point. So for second, I actually left that as red, this is the red code. You could change it if you want everything to be the same. I wanted it to be red, but again, you could also add a new property just for the second hand, or maybe you want to add properties for each of the hands, so each one could be a different color. Totally fine. You can take what I'm teaching you and expand on that if you want. Clock face is the hardest one. This one I would recommend doing outside of Power Apps and pasting it back in. So I would recommend taking all this code out, then doing a find and replace. So basically I went through using Notepad++ and just did a find and replace all instances of that hex code that I want to replace with this instance here. And so that is, to scroll through here, you'll see all that hex, all those find replace fields done like that. Now, Maybe you want to go crazy and change the color for each element of the clock face. You can do that. You just have to have the patience to do it. For today, I'm not going to get into that. So let me demonstrate how this works. I'm going to go over to screens. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select custom. I'm going to add an instance of it. And you know what? I'm going to add 2 instances of it. So let me just shrink this up and I'll paste this in like so. And what I can do is I can show you that I have 2 values here. I've got offset and clock fill. I'll change this one. Let's just do 60 minutes. And then for clock fill, I'll change this to, let's say, red. Like so. And there I can see it's already changed like that. So now when I hit play, and you'll see now that my red clock is an hour ahead of my original regular clock. And if I want to see the time displayed in a digital way, I can come in here, I can add a label. Just put this down here. And then I'm going to set this to, I'll copy this. Again, you should always rename your components, but I'm not going to do that because I don't have time. Going to come in here and do time output, like so. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to change this to 2. And again, hit play. And now you can see that the time is an hour off in case your users can't read the analog clock. So I hope this helped. Hope it gave you some ideas. Again, check out the blog for step-by-step. And I recommend, this is a good starting point if you're learning components or learning Canvas apps. Take the time to figure out how it all works, take it apart. And if you want to add to it, you can download this version of it through my GitHub and modify it to your heart's content. Again, thank you again for watching, and please like and subscribe, and I'll see you around. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and then connect with me on LinkedIn. I think that's it. All right, talk to you later.